This video is not available in your country.
They try to speak up to the Arabian countries and say we like we need your support. Where are you? They have the right to defend themselves.
You're so good at navigating with certain conversations that I find very interesting, and I wanted to get your perspective, your global perspective from the West as a European, because it almost felt like we've been yelling at each other on social media, especially with the shadow ban and on social media and stuff like that. So it feels like our voice is not being heard. How do you see this whole thing?
So my take on what's happening, it started, as I said, it started with the Hamas attack, but it's not like it wasn't the beginning of the whole conflict. But I think it's the beginning of international news that everybody knew what was going on. And I know that there's like a really long history of Israel coming to Palestine after the Second World War to find peace and freedom, as is described in the Bible, and then just took land. And that's something that's been going on for I think 75 years now, like a really long time. Yeah, and I also don't know what I really think about the whole Hamas organization, because I knew that they like attacked like free people in Israel, and that was a reason for Israel to start this whole war. And yeah, now it's getting really out of hand because the Palestinian people don't have a lot of support. I also know that people from Palestine, they try to speak up to the Arabian countries and say we uh, we need your support. Where are you?
They make it out to look like it's a war on Israel, but they're
Yeah.
like but they're censoring or they're taking out the biggest part, which is but Israel is an occupation. And
Yeah.
before we started recording, you and I were talking about anti-Semitism, which is an accusation used by a lot of Israelis, I'd say. If you say anything about Israel, if you criticize Israel in any way, you would be called an anti-Semitic, which is uh, cancel culture, right? Which is dangerous. You can lose your job
Yes.
for it. You can, it's very dangerous to be, especially in the West. I think. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes, but what I was what we talked about earlier, like the perfect example. Maybe she's watching, but when I was mentioning my friend, she didn't want to come on because she doesn't know if she will have any politici bonds or jobs, because she doesn't want to take a risk to speak up, because there are like really big labels like anti-Semitic, not pro-Palestine, something like that. But I do think that the whole cancel culture and the whole issue is also coming from social media. And what you were telling, that it's seems like people are yelling to each other like you're this, you're that. And I really think that's like a direct product from social media and how they handle conflicts like this.
I think it's nowadays it's very easy for us to find information. We're at this era where information is available everywhere. Yes, there's the risk of misinformation, but you're able to kind of do your research. So you can present all the facts, the fact that this has been an occupation for years. The Palestinian people have been brutally tortured and bombed for years and years, and nobody knows about it. You can present all your facts, and then after all this, you get this, to me, insensitive question, which is, but do you condemn Hamas?
Yes.
You know what I
If I
mean?
can say something about that,
Yeah.
well, you were also asking me, like, what would be the reason why people are closing their eyes, or why the West is like, have like such a strong opinion. And I also think that it had something to do with what you're just saying, because I think it's all like, for the most people, like the bigger people, it's all a matter of politics. Like if we had a history, like a positive history with Israel, it means that we will send out that we're pro-Israel. Or if this happened, or this is the deal, then we'll be like this. It's like strategies, and that may I think that is also wrestled in like insensitive questions like that, or people like being on one side and not and not being able to look further than that. I did hear you say that you think it's like a one-sided conflict. Did I understand it well? Or
On the media, they make it seem like it's a war between Israel and Hamas, as if it's two equal military forces fighting each other. But it is not.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
So I have different different thoughts about that. Um, I just think the whole situation is really complex, and like I said, I will send out my best powers to give Palestinian a voice because I think they need it more. Really do think they need it more. Just as you said, like the war, it is not like an equal war. There are no equal chances right now. They yeah, you know, they kill the people like in really big numbers. So you can speak about a genocide. That's just how it is. But I do think that the history is so complex, and also the things that Hamas is doing is so complex that if you look at the war rules, and it's really crazy to talk about this as a free person because war, you know, we all think it's bullshit. I think, you know, you shouldn't fight against each other. Every life counts, and I do think that. But it's yeah, I think it's really hard to be on one side because it's a really complex war situation with rules, and they like Israel has the um they have the right to defend themselves, and Palestinians have the right to live. And you know, it's yeah, I think it's really complex to um for me to say that it's one-sided.
Does Palestine have the right to defend itself as well?
Yeah, of course, but they don't have the tools. So that's like a really unequal situation.
So if they don't have the tools, why would we call it a war and not call it an occupation? Because again, the what's happening right now, we agree that it's genocide, and that it's just killing innocent people and civilian children. And I agree with you about the fact that in war, it's an inevitable consequence that civilians will die. But that's if we're talking about a war, a war between two countries and stuff like that. But again, if someone came into your house, again, I'm gonna use the same analogy that a lot of people are using. If someone came into your house, decided to stay and kill some family members of yours, and then says, "Oh, this is my house now," and then you come 2 years later on October 7th, and you decide to beat that guy up. Why would I blame you for doing that? I mean, it makes it very simple. You know what I mean? Not complex.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
That's also my thing in like most really complex questions. Like one you know, I'm never one-sided in these kind of things. So but that's also like there's one rule for me, and that's just the simple one that there's one race, there's a human race, and this is not supposed to be happening. But like right now what's happening, it's really unfair more to the other party, that's for sure. Like I don't disagree on all at all with that. But it is you know, it is not a war, as you said, but it's like really well connected with a war, so they can use excuses to do stuff as a result of self-defense or as a result of Hamas, or you know. And yeah, I think that is all, at all like that's in the whole is really complex.
I totally agree with you on the fact that it's an excuse, because if you look up the Israeli army, it's one of the strongest armies in the world. Very advanced technology of surveillance of all of that, and it's kind of like I try to use these arguments. I try to use the very simple arguments to say that, but it doesn't make sense.
It seems like okay, if we raise awareness, if we like, you know, have the information out in the open, people will understand. Maybe people will solve the problem. But as you say, it seems like that even if they have all the information, they just do whatever, and people are still supporting it, which is really weird. Because at first you think that okay, maybe the problem is that people are not aware, and then they are aware, and they still continue to do the thing, what makes it even more sick and problematic.
Why do you think that's happening?
It's a like a really much bigger problem, and that is that people are not, they don't know how to connect anymore. I think that is like the really big problem. I think it is that people can't imagine, they can't imagine having like a really lovely family bomb, bombed away literally, and seeing dead bodies every day. Yeah, we see the footage, but I don't know. I think it's that I just really think that we can't feel the situation anymore. I think that maybe if we had this same situation like 50 years ago, that we are aware and we know that what's happening, I think that people would maybe be more proactive in situation. But I think that we kind of lost some really bigger connection with just the whole humanity, with all humans, and that people are maybe afraid to open up their hearts to this whole conflict. But yeah, that's also a whole nother subject.
Do you think that is the reason, or is it because they're Arabs?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how to say that. It's really hard for me because right now, because I was talking about the disconnection, and then I try to feel, how it would be, which is really sad. And then now I try to be like those people who see it like that, who are kind of racist, and I just really can't imagine seeing a human and then debating whether it's sad because of the color of their skin. I just can't. Yeah, it's really. I know it's out there. I know it's a really big topic, but it's really hard for me to understand that because there's only one race, as I said, and I also don't know what to do about that because I can't imagine being like that. What do you think that um will make a change in that really big awful problem?
I honestly think the ultimate solution is not in our hands. The ultimate solution is in the hands of governments and political leaders and all of this. But what we can do to answer your question, I think it's very helpful to have conversations like these, just cultural conversations that you know you present the facts more understanding. And also, I think that people in the West have a bigger responsibility because all the facts are out there. Our voice is heard better now. I think there's been a lot of improvement. But again, people in the West are naturally heard more. I think this is the natural structure of the global society we live in right now. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think we need to all like be together. You know what I mean? You said there's the one race, there's the human race, which I love that you said that, and I totally agree with it. So we should just like help each other out, help each other be heard.
Yes.
So yeah.
Yes. I think that's really important. I was wondering what from the West you are seeing right now in the news. And it's I think it's not really possible for me. I can try to understand how it is from outer countries because I've always lived here. So how does the media in the West influence you, and how do you think that it's like a global thing, that it's more important what we have to say like that?
So when this whole thing first started, it's been very very frustrating. The Western media, they were all like pro Israel, disregarding the history, disregarding the facts, making up statements that are not true. So there was like a very big sense of frustration from all of us watching, CNN, BBC, and other Western channels. I think there's been an improvement in the Western media, but the the politics of things are still in control of everything. You'll still see people making up statements that are not true, propagated by the Israeli government, and then promoting those lies. You know what I mean? So this is how we see Western media now, right now, and the influence of it. You were asking me about the influence of it. It's definitely negative because you feel like, again, back to the point we were talking about, we're just yelling at each other. No, nobody's listening.
Yeah. nobody's
Because
listening. Yeah, that's a really important one.
Hopefully, it gets better and better.
I think it does. Like what I told you, that when the whole conflict began to spread internationally, like what I saw on the news here is that it's like really hopping from the one side to the other side, because there was constantly new information and constantly new debates. So I think that's also like a really yeah, a big improvement, that people are not, you know, people are really well read, actually, like more than they used to. I think that's a really big advantage in the whole problem of people that are not aware and
exactly.
just, yeah.
Happy to have you on the show and yeah, to have this conversation with you. Thank you for sharing your opinion. And
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
we'll talk again soon.